Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I am joined here, as always, by the man who is very disappointed at how the Bills-Patriots game went. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Recovering from a tough loss, but I'll get
Mm-hmm.
by. How's your holiday?
Yes, holidays was good. I was in Wisconsin, and it was nice weather. Like, it was funny. I went there and it was like 50, which still cold for me as a Floridian, but considered like the way you'd expect. Very lucky. Got a little colder towards the end of the week. I went tubing, which I found out is not just something you can do in the water. You can do that in the snow as well. It was a good time, Kyle.
Oh yeah, tubing in the snow is a good time. I
Mm-hmm.
was in Florida. It was hot. I hooped basically every
Uh-huh.
day, so there's that. Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
good
I
time.
like I like this comment. Any New Year's resolutions, Kyle?
No, not right now.
All right. So you and Bill Belichick, peas in the pod there. Yes, I'm happy to be back. Happy to be back going live. It's been far too long. How about you? How were your holidays?
Doing good. Like I said, I played a lot of basketball. Ate way too much food because that's what you do on holidays, and
Mm-hmm.
watched football. That was basically my weekend. I had I have a newborn nephew who liked to cry. I
Okay.
had a lot of dogs who liked to bark.
So
And
that
then on
explains why
my
you were out of the house so much playing basketball.
and then on the
Mm-hmm.
flight back that was 2 hours delayed to Texas, I had a baby cry the entire flight. So outside of small animals and babies, everything was good.
Yeah. All right. Well, good to hear. You want to just so we're gonna start off. It's gonna be like a regular recap show, similar to what we do on Sunday nights. But since we didn't get it then, we're just making it up now. Kyle, let's just start there. Let's just go with the Bills Patriots, just because I brought it up. So tough loss for New England. I mean, a couple weeks ago we were talking about them as are they the favorites to win the Super Bowl? At least the AFC. Now they've dropped back to back, losing to the Colts, losing to the Bills. It's not a guarantee they're in the playoffs at this point. Although playing Jaguars and Dolphins should help a little bit with that. How are you feeling?
I mean, I still feel good about this team making the playoffs. They own a bunch of tiebreakers, so at the very least, from what I
Mm-hmm.
remember reading, it was if they beat the Jaguars, um, and the Raiders or the Dolphins lose, who play the Titans and Colts, they're in. It's the lock. Um, so at that rate, I feel like one of those two teams is going to lose, and I feel like we're going to win. And if we don't beat the Jaguars, we don't deserve to make the playoffs. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so this was just a frustrating game, though, because it's back-to-back weeks now where we played two good teams. And I think if you told Patriots fans when they were looking at this schedule, this stretch from Buffalo, Tennessee, Indianapolis, Buffalo, if it will go 2-2, I think Patriots fans at the time would have been okay with it. But I think how good they looked those first two games. I know the Titans were missing a bunch of guys. How
Mm-hmm.
good they looked those first two games to in stretches of that Colts game looking really bad, and in stretches of this Buffalo game looking really bad. I'm sure that's a really that was a really frustrating thing to see. It really, I watched that game and it's just like, you know what? Josh Allen looks like the best player on this football field. And it's
Allen looked like the best player on any football field.
yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he looked like the best player out there, and there's just nothing we could do about it. We made mistakes. We shot ourselves in the foot, certainly. But at the end of the day, if Josh Allen's going to play like that, and then if Isaiah McKenzie is going to be the second best player on the football field, there's really nothing else we can do about it but tip your cap to them.
Yep. I also kind of felt like a little bit of, for the Patriots, if your team is constructed the way you are, you can't make those mistakes. You have less room for error than the Bills do because the Bills have Josh Allen, they have Stephon Diggs, they can get these huge splash plays at any moment. The Patriots don't really have that as much. You have a way to get down the field. Again, Damian Harris had a big day in this one as well. But you do kind of like, that interception. It was a bit fluky, but it was also play action against zone coverage where the windows are going to be tight. Mac Jones doesn't fit it through a tight window, gets tipped up an interception and intercepted. That does kind of happen too. So, you have less margin for error. Obviously, we could say what you want about should that have been a late hit on Mac Jones at the end of the half or not. Either way, it's like, I don't know what Trent Brown said, but assuming he said something that was worthy of a flag, then like you got to be better than that. So it felt kind of unpatriots like a little bit, this Patriots game.
Yeah, and it just seems like every time they lose, that's kind of something we talk about, whether it's the Miami game fumbling at the 1 yard line during week one, whether it's the
Mhm.
Colts game with penalties in the red zone, either extending drives or preventing points from being scored. In this game, the interception and just, the backbreaking one too for me was there was the 4th and 7 lineup. Josh Allen's in shotgun, so it's not even like a hard count. And
Uh-huh.
Christian Barmore jumps offside on a 4th and 7, sets up a
Yeah.
much more manageable 4th and 2. They get it, go down and score a touchdown. It's just like that kind of stuff has just been killer, it seems like, this season with untimely penalties. I mean, I thought it was a late hit, but at the same time, like, I'm not saying we lost because the refs boned us on that play. It was just, an unfortunate situation. I think that they're still a good team. And I still think this team's kind of ahead of a schedule where everyone thought this was going to be a big rebuild. I still think this is a pretty good team, and I still think they're dangerous in the playoffs. I think the thing I'm worried about with this Patriots team is if a team like Buffalo last Sunday is scoring, or if a team like Kansas City is scoring, and there's a couple other teams that can do it, can we match points? Can we match points with these teams? I'm not sure if we're ready to do that just yet, especially with the rookie quarterback who's seemingly going to have to play on the road every playoff game going forward.
Yeah. What was also interesting about this game was the fourth down decisions. There ended up being 10 fourth down, 10 times the teams went for it on fourth down. A couple of those were late in the game. Ended up being 8-2 in those decisions. The Bills had 3, the Patriots had 5. So that was kind of fun. A lot of going for it on fourth down here. It did feel like a big game. And again, I mean, I don't think we can praise Josh Allen enough for what he was able to do. I keep saying this. When Josh Allen is on, he's the best player in football. He's not as on as consistently as some other guys. When he's on, he can beat anybody.
Yeah. And this is exactly what Buffalo needed to do. They needed to come in and win this game and look good doing it. I
Hmm.
thought they, like we said, they looked extraordinary in this game. Allen looked extraordinary. And, this is kind of the team that we thought could be like, potentially dominant this season and, make a Super Bowl run. I don't know if they will do that this year, but they certainly have the ceiling still to do it. And they showed in this game. And I mean, I still think they're one of the top teams in the AFC. And I just think that, it gets back to like we kind of overreact week to week with a lot of this stuff. Like
Hmm.
last year, we wrote the Buccaneers off, and then the Buccaneers ripped out a huge run, went to the
Oh,
Super
I
Bowl, and
never
won
did.
it. Because exactly. That team had a ton of talent. We
Hmm.
we wrote off the Bills and the Chiefs this year, basically saying that they're
Hmm.
inconsistent, they can't get things done, they don't look the same. I mean, if I gave you Bills Chiefs for the field for the AFC to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, who would you take right now?
Yeah, I would take Bills Chiefs. I think that's I think that I do kind of feel like Bills Chiefs and Patriots are probably the top 3 in the AFC at this point. But yeah, and even the Titans could end up with the 1 seed with all this. So it's still a little bit wide open. But I totally agree. And the Titans are a team that people have written off. So yeah, I think good point. Want to move on or any final thoughts?
I guess just put a bow on the Patriots talk. I still think we win out, and I still think we're a good team. I'm not sure if this is a Super Bowl team this year, and Mac
Hmm.
hasn't looked great this last 2 weeks, but he's played really good defenses. And even in that Colts game, I thought he showed flashes. This game, a little bit less. I think
Hmm.
he's going to be fine. I don't think it's like a wall or anything, and I still think he's going to be really good. So,
Yeah. In hindsight, maybe calling him the next Tom Brady already was a bit of an overreaction.
yeah. I mean, Tom Brady was not an amazing rookie. Let's,
Sure.
I mean, he
Hmm.
didn't play as a rookie, but in his first year starting, he was not like this amazing quarterback.
Yeah, that's also fair. Let's move on. Let's go to so let's say, you know what? Let's appease the Mammals fans in the chat. Let's go to Dolphins at Saints. Kyle, what is the headline for this game? What is the biggest thing we learned from this football game?
Uh, I don't know, because I feel like the headline right now is Tua and Jalen Waddle are the future of the Dolphins. But like, I feel like that's what people are talking about. But I watched this game and it's like, well, they don't really want Tua to throw the ball a whole lot. They averaged
Mhm.
less than 3 yards a carry and still ran the ball 30 times. I mean, they were going to beat the Saints team that was pretty beaten up with a lot of this COVID stuff and, down to Ian Book at quarterback. They kind of dominated them. But it wasn't like Tua went out and was even good in this game, I thought. I didn't think he was that good. They scored one offensive touchdown. They dominated a team that was kind of, a shell of itself. And, kudos to them. They're in the playoff hunt. They're in a playoff spot. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to take away from this game.
Yeah, I mean, Ian Book threw a pick six with 5 minutes into the game, and that was more points than the Saints offense would generate through the entire game. This was like that would have been if you called it there, it would have been enough. With just that one pick six, I think certainly worth mentioning. Ian Book was not good in this one. I also think it's fair to say, like, okay, not a lot was going well for the Saints. Like the offense really was not getting anything going against the Dolphins defense. So we can say it's oh, Ian Book. If Taysom Hill is there, they have a much better chance of winning because at least you assume there wouldn't have been a pick six there, maybe some confidence. I mean, the Saints didn't convert a third down in this one, so that's obviously not good. But there was other issues with the Saints team. And the biggest one is I think they were playing the Dolphins defense, where I thought Brian Flores schemed this stuff up really well. I think that not enough credit can be said to the way that Miami sort of dominated the Saints offense. Let's go to the other side now. You say this, and then we'll go to the other side.
Well, it's just like, so I was looking at a lot of this week, and it's like, I don't really know what to take away from a lot of these games right now.
Sure.
With the way the way COVID has ripped through the NFL, and we don't have to spend too much time on this or anything, but just as kind of caveat to a lot of this stuff, it's really hard to judge a lot of these teams when it's like you see the number of guys out on every roster. Like, we'll get to a bunch of teams here in a second, but it was just like so many guys are out in these games, and it's like, well, what do you take away from this huge victory? Well, I can't really take anything away when it's like half of a professional football team.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And I think it's just unfortunate this Saints team that we didn't get to see the Saints team we thought we were going to see in the preseason. They're not the same team. So I think that this was a good team to just kind of to put a bow on New Orleans. I think that it's unfortunate. When I did my predictions and everything, I still had the Saints ending up making the playoffs. Just the way everything breaks down because they play the Panthers and the Falcons. So it's totally possible this could still happen. But they would need a quarterback at least.
Yeah, a quarterback would help. I still feel like they probably make it too, but it's going to be tough with the situation they got. Like you said, it would be nice to have Jameis this whole year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk Tua because I know people are going to want to. I find this interesting. I tweeted this out. I think it's a very fascinating situation. So after Tua played against Jacksonville and against Atlanta, he had his highest 2-game stretch. If you look at PFF grades, which we like to use from time to time, he had his highest 2-game stretch of PFF grades in his career. At that point, everyone was saying we got to get rid of Tua. Tua's not the answer. Tua sucks. Now, these past 2 games, Tua is coming off of the worst 2-game stretch of his career in PFF grades, and now everyone's saying Tua is a franchise quarterback. Do we just care about quarterback wins here, or what is? I mean, I get that there was, a good sort of, at least I think 4 out of the 5 games he played solid in that win streak. So it's not like, it's coming out of complete nowhere. But I don't know if I'm like, I guess I'm still kind of where I'm at with Tua. There's still a lot to like about Tua. There's still a lot to dislike about Tua, and I still have questions about his ceiling.
Yeah, I agree. I have questions about his ceiling too. I mean, I think he's an efficient quarterback, but what is efficiency if let's put it this way. If you're in a big game or even a playoff game, do you trust Tua to make the 10 good throws necessary to win you a game? I'm not sure if I'm ready to go there yet. And I keep seeing these, he'll consistently have games where he's like this one, 19-26. I feel like he's consistently having that. But, none of these I feel like are real big time throws. I feel like they're just, taking what and I think there is some good things with taking what the defense gives you. But at the same time, I did not take away anything really from his performance. I thought he was fine in this game, but I didn't think he was spectacular by any means. The one thing I took away from this game is Jalen Waddle is going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big takeaway from Miami this week.
Yeah, no, I love Jalen Waddle. What Jalen Waddle's doing is awesome. I mean, that's, I kind of said maybe you shouldn't have traded up. I think he's worth the draft picks now with what he's done, especially with the draft pick not being as valuable now. I think that ended up working out. A couple of comments in the chat, which I figured this would, anytime you criticize Tua, you're going to get some criticism here, at least on this channel. Michael R saying no one said Tua should go, only Tua haters. That's just not true. I mean, people were done with Tua, at least on my timeline. In my corner of the internet, I saw people that were ready for Tua to go after that losing streak. And then the great Luke Brown, happy to see Luke Brown back in the chat. I am sold on Tua. I just want to see some consistency from him. Our O-line has to improve. I want to be very clear in my Tua take. I think I want to see him play another year. I want to see him. Oops, that one was there. I want to see, hopefully him play with a better offensive line. I want to see him play with maybe even, better receivers and see what can really happen. I'm all about let's give Tua a real chance. I'm just saying I'm not ready to crown him either. I think that he's still a bit of a wild card.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that. I mean, literally every Miami fan I knew was ready to trade him for Deshaun Watson by the trade deadline. It wasn't a secret that was basically ready to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we'll continue to see how he evolves. I'm not sure he can go. I'm not sure this is the kind of quarterback who can go into Buffalo and win a playoff game. But I think he's had some good moments, and I think he's had some bad moments this season, and I think that's something that's fine for now. But I think you want to see, as Luke said, you need to see more consistency from his game because. Yes, you could say that he has some inconsistent moments. The issue is that the bad moments for Tua are really, really bad. So you can't continue to see those really bad moments in those backbreaking interceptions.
Yeah. I think I agree. And that's kind of something I keep talking about. And I talk about Mac Jones as well, is if you're going to be the game manager, can't turn the ball over. You got, and this is the Teddy Bridgewater problem, right? He was the game manager, but he kept turning the ball over. But again, he's still so young. I want to give him more time. I want to see what he's doing. So I'm not trying to say I'm out on Tua. I don't know if I don't think here's how I'll say it. For Tua today, I don't really think he's a great quarterback, but Tua still has a lot of potential to be a lot better. I guess that's where my main thing is.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, so let's say, I'm going to pull up the standings real quick.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. So NFL standings, if the season ended today and the Dolphins are in the playoffs as the 7th seed, is Tua the worst quarterback in the playoffs right now?
So I'm trying to
besides whoever plays for the Saints, although they're not even in.
So Josh Allen is better than Tua. You have Mahomes. I think Mahomes is better than Tua. I know Tua fans will be upset about that one. Joe Burrow, I would have definitely better than Tua. I think that's clear to me. Then you have the Titans. I think Ryan Tannehill is better than Tua. And then so the 3 wild cards would be the Colts, Carson Wentz. I think you could argue one way or the other. I guess I don't see it as a clear advantage one way or the other, Wentz or Tua. I think that you could argue either one. I think I would throw Mac Jones in there as well. I think those are all same tier quarterbacks. And then who is the 7th team? Is that the Chargers or the Ravens?
No, the Dolphins are 7.
Oh, Dolphins 7. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I would have them as the 3 wildcard teams. I would kind of have them all in the same tier. I think you could argue either one.
Yeah. I think I probably agree with that.
Yeah. Also, Michael R. very not happy with me in the chat at this point. How many wins, Jackson, for the Fins at the end of the year? Or I'm actually not sure. At first, I thought that was a dig at me saying they would only have 6.5 wins. Maybe you're just asking to guess how many wins they will have. I don't think it's out of the question. The Dolphins could win one of these games. Yeah, I think it's tough. I mean, you play the Titans and the Patriots, and you realistically have to beat them both to get in. So that's just going to be really tough.
Yeah. I mean, I could see them, winning 1 or 2 of those games, and I could see them losing both of those games. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if this team's 8-9 at the end of the season.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Would you be shocked if they're 10-7?
I'd be more surprised at 10-7 than 8-9.
Yeah, I think I agree. Interesting stuff. Hey, give Brian Flores a lot of credit for what he was able to do to get this team back. I thought that the fire Brian Flores stuff was silly early on. Again, Dolphins fans, no one gave you credit for that take. It was very pro your coach this entire time.
Yeah, no, he's done a very good job. Continues to do a good job with that team.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. I love arguing with Dolphins fans. One of my favorite activities to do on this podcast, Kyle.
At least they're in the chat, though. I appreciate the listens, of course.
Absolutely, of course. Love the discussion. Love the back and forth. It makes the shows aren't interesting if we all agree. Let's go to Browns Packers. Let's go to the one of the Christmas games. This one was fun, very fun game in a lot of ways. Baker Mayfield threw this one away. I guess some interesting stuff. Let's talk about the Baker Mayfield. I think that's the headline of this. How do we feel about Baker now through, with only 2 games left in the season?
Not great.
Hmm.
Listen, you can argue that 2 of those passes could have been flags that were intercepted.
Hmm.
I didn't think they were great throws regardless. Like the first interception did look like illegal contact, but he still threw it into double coverage.
Yeah, and he had
And
wide open. And it was just a bad read. I mean, the
yeah,
read is you look at the safety, and if the safety stays deep, you throw over the middle. If the safety runs over the middle, you throw it deep. Safety stay deep, he threw it deep. That was just he deserved that. Could have been an interception regardless.
yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It's a tough situation because we talked about this Browns team preseason, and we weren't the only ones. A lot of people were talking about this Browns team as a sneaky Super Bowl contender after the playoff run last year. Very good team, very talented roster. They went into Green Bay. This game was in Green Bay, right? Yes. They went into
Hmm.
Green Bay, didn't punt the ball one time, ran for 8 yards a carry, and lost because their quarterback gifted 4 turnovers.
Hmm.
Like, that's wild.
Yeah, that not great. And I thought that the last interception, I thought that was a penalty that didn't get called, which happens. It's a football game. That stuff is going to happen. So I didn't really put that much blame on Mayfield for that one. The other 3 though, I do think they were bad plays. And
Mhm.
again, even the third one was a bit weird. Like it looked like a blown coverage by Green Bay, but then so Mayfield tried to take advantage, and then Rasul Douglas made a great play. So like even that one you could argue, but the other 2 you can't. I mean, the other one was just a missed throw. So now that we've broken down all 4 of them, yeah, I agree though. This offense was rolling, and I guess this is maybe if it wasn't for those interceptions, which were a little bit gifted from Mayfield. I guess the question is there some concerns about the Packers defense now, as they are pretty much universally agreed upon to be the Super Bowl favorites? But is this a concern here with only 2 games left in the regular season?
I'm a little concerned. I don't know. I was trying to figure this team out. I know they're still missing a couple guys. Alexander and Smith still aren't back. I don't know when they're coming back. They've been kind of vague about both situations, it seems like.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I just watched this team and I'm like, okay, so is this like the 2009 Saints where, they're just going to get a bunch of turnovers every game and kind of live off that? Or
Hmm.
is this going to reach a breaking point where they play Tom Brady and he goes for 350 and 4 touchdowns and that's how they lose? Or
Hmm.
Matt Stafford or Kyler Murray or, any of those teams in the NFC, really.
Yeah, yeah, it's Jalen Hurts. This is a real chance that this thing could work. Dak Prescott's another, and the thing about
Yes.
this too, what's interesting with the Packers is, I guess I kind of feel similar to Packers how I felt about the Chiefs last year, where it's like they're clearly the favorites, but they feel very human. And I think that this is similar with the Packers, is they do feel human here, even though they keep winning. And it does make me wonder, like, listen, you got Minnesota next week, who's going to be fighting for their playoff lives. Like, you got to win that game. If you don't win that game, the Cowboys can win out, and now they're the 1 seed. So it's going to be tough. But again, you'd also just beat a good Cleveland Browns team. So I don't know why I'm coming across the other way. So I guess one thing is Aaron Rodgers. He's the MVP now, right? Like, I think that early on he had to do a lot of work to overcome those bad stuff early on. But I just feel like I don't know who else I could say was the better quarterback this season than Aaron Rodgers. So I'd probably give it to him.
I mean, I probably agree.
Hmm.
I still, I still think like I guess at this point it's probably him or Brady, right? Like I don't think Mahomes is going to be able to do enough the last 2 weeks of the season. I don't think like who's the other guys? I don't think Dak is going to be able to do enough the last 2 weeks of the season, or
Oh, I think
Stafford, or
that's
Kyler.
long. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I
it's
think that
like
there's
it's two a
honestly
horse race, right? And maybe Jonathan Taylor, if they, there's some nostalgia for running backs.
that's what I was going to say. That's what. Sorry for interrupting you a little bit, but Jonathan Taylor is the exception, or maybe even like Cooper Cup has been thrown in the discussion. Which like I kind of say like I don't think it's crazy that an MVP could be a running back. Like I think that that's possible, but I think for it to happen, it would have to be like not necessarily an all-time great season by a running back, but an incredibly good season by a running back. Because it's just looking at the expected value. Typically, a top 5 running back will get you 2.5 wins, and a top 5 quarterback will get you 4.06. And then like sort of the next tier down for the quarterback is sort of around 2.8. So it's like if there's basically no quarterback who has a good season one year and a running back has an incredible, like a well above average, even for a top 5 running back season, then maybe I could see it. I just don't think that's happened, although Taylor has been really good.
I mean, he's been great. The problem is like
Mhm.
I've said before, the benchmark is usually, well over 2,000 yards rushing.
Mhm.
And he might get it. It's close. I don't know if he's going to get it. It's going to be close. Um, so, if he can hit that, then sure, he's going to be in the conversation. But like, I don't know, like, I don't think Cup's out of the question either. If I said who was the best offensive player in football this year,
Mhm.
Cup to me is in the conversation. Like he's literally, I know he has an extra game, but he's going to set the record probably for receptions and receiving yards in the season. Like that has to mean something, right?
Well, it certainly means something. The question is it, again, as long as the award is MVP, as long as the award is most valuable player, it should go to the player who added the most value to their team. And you could still argue Brady. Like I think that they've both been really good. I guess I would say I think Rodgers has done a little bit more with a little bit less. Although again, it's so tough because I think if you look at the last like 8 games or so, Rodgers has clearly been the best player in football. But the issue is that if you look at the whole schedule, it's like maybe Josh Allen deserves it. Like I think you can make a strong argument for that for some of the stuff that he's done this season. So I don't know. It's just one of those weird things. At the end of the day, who really cares? The point of sports isn't to win an MVP; it's to win a Super Bowl. But
Yeah.
I do find it an interesting race here.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's just like so because we say this now, he should win MVP, but Brady stats wise, numbers wise, let's just go off that. He's playing the Jets and the Panthers to end the season.
True.
So if he
Mhm.
has 11 touchdowns and an interception the last 2 weeks of the season, are we going to say, "Oh, Brady's the MVP without a doubt"?
Again, it's totally possible. I think that the odds are currently like Rodgers is something like they're Rodgers and Brady are almost identical. I think what's hurting Brady and what probably will hold against Brady is he had to play the Saints twice. Rodgers only had to play him once, and also he the interception sort of flukiness of he's despite the fact that he's turned the ball over, had less turnover worthy plays per snap than Rodgers, he has way more turnovers just due to sort of randomness. And I think that's going to hurt him as well. So that's why it'll probably end up being Rodgers. Interesting though, and again, these guys' 2 careers are so intertwined. Of course, they have an MVP race that's going down to the final 2 weeks. Either one could get it.
Yeah, I bet Packers to win the Super Bowl. By the way, I know the defensive
Okay.
worries. I felt like this is still a good win. I don't really care about the Browns' record. Ian, I don't really care about Baker Mayfield. This is a good team, and this is a tough win beating a good team like this. And I think they went in and did a good job overall. Devontae Adams is maybe the most uncoverable player ever. Um,
Yeah.
it's just
Incredible.
insane how I've never seen a guy break so many ankles at the goal line on that stupid slant play, and he runs
Yeah.
the slant every time, and he still gets guys to bite on it. But yeah, I mean, I think this is the best team in football right now. I bet them to win the Super Bowl, and I think they look terrific.
Yeah. Also, what the hell were the Browns? We're going way long on this podcast, but what the hell were the Browns thinking with this? Like, okay, let's have our I think that MJ Stewart on who's a corner turned safety who's now covering Devontae Adams one on one. They had like their 3rd string cornerback. It's like, guys, that's the guy you have to cover. That's the one guy you can't lose. That was an odd decision by them.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing that against Devontae Adams ever. So,
Yeah, exactly. If 2 guys aren't on Devontae Adams, it better be because you have Darrelle Revis on your team.
uh, yeah, I
Hmm.
would agree. So,
Yeah. All right, let's move on. A lot to get to. We're, we've kind of drug our feet through these first couple of games. Let's go Ravens Bengals. Why don't we? So Joe Burrow throws for 525 yards right here. Kind of has a one of these big games. Although again, it has to be mentioned it was against practice squad cornerbacks. So you give them some credit. Also, totally acknowledge that the injuries. This Ravens team, they're another one where it's like we just didn't get to see the Baltimore Ravens this year, like them and the Saints. Like we just didn't get to see them.
yeah, it's kind of disappointing what happened to the Ravens because I mean, yeah, I mean, it's disappointing. We've touched on the Ravens stuff. I feel like I can stick a fork in them right now. I just don't trust this team with who's left on the roster. And it's unfortunate because, Mark Andrews continues to churn out a terrific year. Even Josh Johnson comes into this game. The Jets' best quarterback they let go, and all of a sudden he looks good with the Ravens too.
Uh huh.
So, But yeah, I mean, I felt like even with all that, this was kind of an FU game for the Bengals, right? I mean, they came out and I mean, all the talk about, the late game passing plays, all that kind of stuff. They came back out there and, kind of went at the Ravens. They punished them in this game. And I felt like they wanted to take a statement that this was their division now.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, I mean, interesting. The two games these two teams played with each other. The Bengals score 41 in both matchups. So hey, Baltimore, maybe there's something schematically you need to do differently as well. But again, the injuries, of course. Yeah, I mean, this was a big win for the Bengals, and we kind of talked about last year of when the Browns beat the Steelers. It's kind of the little brother beating the big brother a little bit. Well, the Bengals have kind of been right there with them. I mean, obviously Ravens and Steelers have ran that division. The Bengals had their 5-year stretch where they, won the division 4 years and, made the playoffs 5 straight years. But of course, never winning a playoff game, it kind of almost made it look a little worse. So they're a fun team to watch. There's still some concerns I have. This defense has been very inconsistent this season. So that's the immediate concern I have. But Joe Burrow is playing really good football. Joe Burrow, talking about PFF, is currently PFF's #1 rated quarterback. So you got that going for you. And of course, the Jamar Chase, T. Higgins stuff. Their offensive line's been like a fringe top 10 offensive line. So I don't think I've ever seen a decision work out more immediately well than the Jamar Chase decision. With I certainly don't think they would trade Chase for Sewell right now. That's no shade on Sewell. It's how much Chase has meant to this team. They're just a fun team to watch. And again, I know I'm kind of freaking out over beating an injured team, but we freak out when teams beat the Jets. So why not freak out when they beat the equivalent of the Jets, which is the Ravens backups?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a good win. They're obviously, looks like they're gonna win the division. I guess let's look big picture with this team. Is this team a sleeper this year?
I just don't think so. I would love to see them go on some sort of run. I think this is a team that could win a playoff game. Which, listen, that would be a great thing. It's been how long since they've won one, so maybe it's a little similar to I don't know. I just think they're a little bit away. I think that they still need to improve on their defense a little bit before I'm really willing to consider them. But do I see the Cincinnati team going into Kansas City and winning? It's possible. Are they going to do that and then go into Buffalo and win, or even host Buffalo and win, or beat the Patriots? I think that they have a chance, I guess is what I'll say, but I don't think that I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah. I do think that they could score with anybody. I think that's the one thing they have going for them now. I do think that they're going to struggle to get stops in some of these big games, but I don't think it's out of the question this team could beat Tennessee or Buffalo in a playoff game. And I know Buffalo's look good this, the second half of the Bucs game and this week, but I'm not sold on Buffalo being all the way back. I think that the Bengals could definitely beat that team. I don't think they could beat all 3 of the wildcard teams. I'm not sure if I'm ready to pick them to beat Kansas City, but I mean, if you're one of the 2, you're giving yourself a shot, basically.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I say all this about the Bengals being inconsistent with their defense. The defense is currently 6th in points per drive. So it's the numbers are there, and it just had some bad moments. I guess maybe I'm still just thinking about the Mike White throwing 400 yards against them. That's still just always going to be ingrained in my brain. I'm going to have a hard time doing that. But now I'm looking at the numbers. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh on them. Maybe they are a real sleeper team. I'll say dark horse Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like Josh Johnson threw the ball pretty well in this game.
Yeah.
A lot of this was kind of, Ravens trying to play catch up, so understandable. But at the same time, they still have moments where it looks like they can be beaten, and I think that's a problem. But at the same time, like I said, I think that every one of these AFC teams right now, I could say has holes. Maybe besides Kansas City looking like the most complete team of that group.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think this is a team that can win against almost anybody. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch in the playoffs. I'm excited for Joe Burrow in the playoffs.
Yeah, I guess. I've adjusted my take a little bit. I think I can see it happening. I think that maybe my biggest concern, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, would just be Joe Burrow in a first playoff game. And that's something that we always see with young quarterbacks when they play in their first playoff game. It's just, it's a different animal. It is. And it usually, guys don't typically perform as well in their first playoff game. Like even like Mahomes, who, seemingly walked through everything easily, struggled like for the first half against the Colts in that first playoff game. It is a bit of a thing. But again, is it something you can overcome? Yeah, it's something you can overcome. So ready to move on?
Yeah, we can move on.
All right, yeah. One thing, let's before we get into a game, I meant to mention this at the beginning of the show. We should probably talk about the unfortunate news of John Madden's passing at 85 years old today. Sad news. Obviously, he was an icon, obviously known for the Madden video games, but of course, better known as a coach and a broadcaster. So sad stuff for from one of the legends of the game.
Yeah, it is. Obviously very, very sad. I mean, I remember Super Bowl 36, Rams Patriots. He was
Yep.
there for that and calling
Mhm.
that game. And that's one of the, very first, I mean, along with the snow game, that's one of the very first football games I remember, like as a kid. And he was there for it. Obviously played his video games for a number of years too.
Mhm.
Legend of the game. And it's sad. And I was excited to go because I knew it was coming up on streaming soon because I missed the airing to go see his documentary. I was looking forward to that as well. Just an incredible figure in the sport.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but just crazy with the timing of the documentary coming out just a couple days ago, and now this. But yeah, best wishes to the Madden family. No easy transition, but ready to get back to some silly little football, Kyle.
Yeah, let's get into it. So I guess we should transition to Raiders from there, right?
Sure, let's do that. Like that idea. Let's go there. Raiders, Broncos, Kyle. Raiders not dead yet. There's still hope. And I'm going to be so hypocritical the way I talk about the Raiders and the Dolphins because the Dolphins, I'm being very realistic, and the Raiders, I'm like, they got this. All they got to do is beat the Colts and Chargers. It's easy.
Yeah. And this team's crazy. It's like,
Uh-huh.
this was a pretty gross game to watch, honestly.
Mhm.
This wasn't a very enjoyable game by any means, but I mean, Raiders fans are going to love this. The defense played very well in this game. Got a ton. I
Mhm.
know they were going against Drew Lock, but they got a ton of stops in this game. Uh, and they did what they had to do to win this one. Like I said, it wasn't great at times, but it was enough. Josh Jacobs was terrific. Hunter Renfrow continues to do some good stuff too. Um, all of a sudden, the Raiders are 8-7, back from the dead.
Yeah, I mean the Raiders, and they control their own destiny. They win out the next two games against the Colts. Again, tough battle. You got to win to beat the Colts and the Chargers. But because you play the Chargers, and because the Chargers lost, you win both those games. You are in. So that's fascinating as well. I still don't think this Raiders team is a playoff team. I just think that well, if they were, the issue is like, okay, Henry Ruggs isn't like going to be found innocent tomorrow, and then he's going to be able to come back to your football team. So the reality is you need some receiving help. Obviously, the Darren Waller absence is hurting probably even more. Like Foster Moreau, Zay Jones, and Deshaun Jackson being your top three receivers in this game. That's not great. Derek Carr has been incredible this season. Like what he's done when things have gone wrong, the numbers have gotten worse since and he's had some bad moments as well since he's lost some of his talent, but he's still like he was really good in this game outside of a stupid fumble, which was stupid, but other than that he did play very well. The issue is you see 17-13, you're not going to realize that. I thought Carr did play well, and fortunately also for the Raiders, Drew Lock was the quarterback for the other team.
Yeah. I mean, Drew Lock was the biggest thing in this game.
Hmm.
Continues. I mean, I want to go through a couple of things with this first. So first of all, Drew Lock is your starting quarterback. Javonte Williams gets 7 carries.
Hmm.
That feels like a mistake.
I mean, I get it. Yeah, I mean, part of it is, there wasn't a ton of just plays in general. Locke threw the ball 22 times. Melvin Gordon also ran the ball 7 times, and they just weren't getting anything. I mean, you look at Javonte Williams; he averaged 1.7 yards per carry. Gordon averaged 0.6 yards per carry. So, congratulations to everyone in the chat. You had more rushing yards last week than Melvin Gordon. You should be proud of yourself. I think this was one of the Raiders are built to stop the run. This is what they do. And it's also kind of why I'm very much looking forward to the Colts Raiders game. I think that's the real intrigue of good on good there. I think that's a big part of the issue is like stuff on the sideline, like that's what you want to do. The issue is just that, like, I mean, there was one play, I forget, I think it was the Cortland Sutton, and Drew Lock just threw it like 10 yards past him. It was just like it looked like there was a miscommunication, but it was a go route. So how could you think he was going to be further?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough spot. I guess the question is, did this kind of stick a nail in Vic Fangio's coffin?
Yeah, he's done. I think there was a chance he made the playoffs, and again, it's tough. I think you could argue, like, okay, if you don't get a good quarterback, like, you're probably not going to have a ton of success in the NFL. So I think that part is tough, and I think that what he was brought in to do, defense, he's done a solid job there, I think. But I also should mention, it was kind of weird with the, I don't know who to blame. Is it Drew Lock or is it Pat Shurmur? I want to watch the All-22, which is out now, so I should check that out. Of how much of it was Drew Lock just kind of taking the checkdowns even though stuff was open, or how much of it was Shurmur was scheming stuff up to get the checkdowns, or how much of it was good coverage. That I just don't know. So that's kind of an X factor, and maybe I'm putting too much blame on Lock. Maybe stuff just wasn't open.
Yeah. So I mean, good win for the Raiders. It's great to see them bounce back, be in the conversation. I don't know if they're going to get through this last stretch though.
It's tough.
It's tough 2 games, and you basically, I mean, it feels like you kind of need to win both to get in at this point, honestly.
Oh, yeah. I don't think 9-8 will get you in the AFC.
Yeah. I just think that's tough because, I imagine the Colts and the Patriots win at least one more, obviously. And then, you're expecting – it's just going to be tough to do that is all I think. So, I mean, it could sneak you into that 7 spot, but it does feel like you need to win both. And I'm not sure if they can win both, but this is a great story for the season to bounce back.
Yeah, but again, this is kind of also for the Raiders. Like, this is what they've done for the past, in the entire John Gruden era, which I feel like this is kind of the last chapter of that book. Of they keep getting so close and they keep falling short. I think the past couple of years they've been eliminated in the second to last game of the season. Last year they had like some weird way of like 4 things happened, they would have gotten in. So for them, you want to win, give yourself a shot week 18 to control your own destiny. That's all you can hope for. Let's move on. Let's go to another game. Let's go here. Let's go Colts Cardinals. This is interesting. I guess here's my question. Does this tell us more about the Colts, or does this tell us more? Is this more optimistic for Indianapolis or concerning for Arizona?
The narrative seems more concerning for Arizona, and I think I agree. I know. I mean, the Colts were missing like the whole offensive line, man. And it just seemed like they couldn't do anything. This just doesn't feel like the same Cardinals team anymore. And yes, DeAndre Hopkins is probably the most important piece of that. And obviously him being gone hurts. But I still watch this team, and it's like, this team was an incredible coverage unit to start the year. And, not that like Wentz was like, a world beater in this game, but he was pretty good for what Carson Wentz has done in previous weeks. I mean, he had 5 completions last week, and then he comes in 18 completions, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers too, which is a big thing for Wentz. And it just seems like, this team could cover too, and they're not covering, and there's just not enough like downfield threat for me. I don't know. I might be ready to kind of stick a fork in this team, honestly.
So are you not thinking at all, though? Because I guess the X factor for me is, what if DeAndre Hopkins comes back and is 100% for the playoffs?
But can this team cover? Like, that's like, I don't know. Even if Hopkins is back, like, I still probably take the Rams over them. I still probably take the Bucs over them right now. But the way I've seen this defense hasn't been as good the last couple weeks.
Would you pick the Cardinals over them? And I'm totally not asking this to get some information on next week's game that we will be doing a pickup show tomorrow for.
The who? The Cardinals over the Cardinals?
Oh, sorry, the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think I take the Cowboys, honestly, right now.
Okay, all right. So I'll write that down in my notes, and then we'll get back to that next week or tomorrow.
Why, you like the Cardinals?
I don't know. We'll have to tune in tomorrow and find out.
Oh, you cheater! Unbelievable.
I'll be in honor. I also like Dallas in that one, but how much? That's what it'll come down to. But yeah, fun stuff. Yeah, I mean, the flip side is you're right. I mean, the Colts are missing their entire offensive line and are still able to run the ball effectively with Jonathan Taylor. Again, it wasn't like an offensive explosion. To me, the X factor I guess I have, though, is like, the Colts still scored just 22 points. Like, if your offense plays the way it had played in the first half of this season, this is an easy victory for Arizona. So that's why I still kind of say you get DeAndre Hopkins back, it's a different team.
I mean, I agree, and I think that they'll be able to move the ball still, but I just thought that, this defense was a lot better to start the year. I think teams are, playing them better. I'm not sure if, it's the teams are figuring out or things are just kind of regressing back to the mean. Because I think preseason, we looked at this Cardinals team and said, that defensive line with Watson Jones is good. Obviously, it's not healthy right now with Watt out, but it's like, that defensive line could be pretty good, but how are they going to cover? And it just seems like that they haven't been as good as to start the year. It does feel like this team's kind of hit a wall.
Yeah, and it's also tough because, listen, realistically, you're probably not going to have to go on the road to, if it, the way I project, because I do my picking every game and seeing how it works out. And the way I projected that, I have currently Tampa Bay hosting the Arizona Cardinals in week 1. Like, that's not a good wild card matchup for Arizona. After all this work you did in the regular season, to end up getting drawn with having to go on the road to play Tampa Bay. I bet they're thinking, why isn't there a Washington football team 7-9, a division winner this year?
Yeah, that's a tough break.
Mm-hmm.
The NFC, I mean, this has been a fun year for the NFC, I got to say. These 5 teams look like they're going to, it's going to be a gauntlet to get through the NFC this year, and I'm excited to see these 5 teams go at it.
Yeah, watch. It'll be like Philadelphia.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts goes nuts.
Exactly. Let's just go there. Let's go, do that transition. Giants, Eagles. Eagles beat the Giants handedly. And, you see 34-10. You think, oh, wow, Jalen Hurts must have had a great day. It really wasn't even that incredible of an offensive performance by the Eagles. It was really a lot of just the Giants' offensive ineptitude kind of helped the Eagles in a big way in this one. This was the Giants are really bad. The Giants might be the worst team in football today. Just with, again, especially without Daniel Jones, who was kind of a bright spot of that team. Didn't have a lot going for it. Jake Fromm looked like the guy we expected him to look like. I was a little bit interested in seeing what he was going to do, and he unfortunately did not have a great game in this one. Flip side for the Eagles, though, listen, you're winning. You play Washington next week. You win that one, you're probably in. So Philadelphia looking good right here.
Yeah, this was I actually thought Philly kind of sucked in this game. I shouldn't say sucked because that's unfair. I thought they weren't very strong in this game, and they won it by 24. My lock that I didn't even really mean to lock was never in doubt. And I don't know. I just watched this game. You said, are they sure they don't want to fire Joe Judge? Are they really sure? I know they said they are going to bring him back, but I don't know. I watched this and it's like, okay, what have you watched about this team that says bring him back? And
right.
I was actually talking to a Giants fan this weekend. And it's like, well, if we fix the offensive line, I'm like, okay, the Giants can't blame their offensive line for being the crappiest team in the NFC East every year. This continues to happen. It's like, this isn't a very good football team. And then I hear Giants fans say, well, the offensive line stinks. Okay, well, there's 7 different dimensions to football that are more than the offensive line. It's not a very good offensive line, but there are a lot of things that I think aren't very good for this Giants team, more so than that, and I think that there's a lot of problems.
I think the offensive line might be the worst part of this team. I think there's a lot of, you're right, there's a lot of issues, but I would probably still put that as number 1.
I would probably too, but I'm just saying, there's certainly a lot more to it than this is just about, an offensive line will make this team like a 10-7 team next year. Not ready to go there either. So Eagles, though, going back to that, Eagles have won 3 in a row. I think Hurts played pretty well in the second half, but he wasn't very good in the first. I don't really know what to make of this team. The schedule that has definitely played its favor for them, playing, Jets, Washington, Giants, Washington, and they actually lost to the Giants just before that too. So, but 1-3 in a row. I don't think it's a very good team. They're probably going to get killed in the playoffs, but they're probably going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, well, if the season ended today, they would play the Cowboys in the playoffs, which would be a lot of fun. Give us Cowboys Eagles in a playoff game. That would be a blast.
It'd be fun for the rivalry, but I'll take the Cowboys by 20.
Sure.
They would play back-to-back weeks if that happened because they play week 18.
I remember one year, like the Jets and the Bengals did that in like 2010 or something like that. Yeah, it's always fun when those kind of things happen. All right, let's move on. We don't spend forever on this one or on the famous Jets Bengals playoff game from 10 years ago. Let's go Niners Titans here. All right, Kyle, we have to let's play a little defend your take here. Of you were very high on the San Francisco 49ers. This was not the best game from them.
No, and it's like I'm watching this game. I'm like, oh, they look pretty good. They're up 10-0, and then they didn't win. I
Mm-hmm.
still thought I watched this team in spurts and was like, oh, this is still a pretty good team beating a good Tennessee team. And
Mm-hmm.
then they just kind of blew it. It really just kind of felt like that. I felt like they gave this game away. I still think it's a good team, though, man. I still watch it and think it's pretty good, but they
Mm-hmm.
definitely did not look good in the second half of this game. And those some of those Jimmy Garoppolo plays, I think I've defended him this season, but I feel like I watched this some of those Jimmy Garoppolo plays. It's like, okay, this is why teams look at him and say, oh yeah, there's an upgrade waiting there.
Yeah, I mean, this is why. I mean, one of those teams was the 49ers who went out and
Yeah.
traded for Trey Lance. And then the question, of course, is how big of an issue is Garoppolo's finger? Which, by the way, it's so the official term is a torn UCL, which is hilarious because everyone's thinking, oh, some knee injury, like it's a finger injury, but because we all think like, oh, CL, like so that's kind of funny. Obviously not funny that he's injured. I think that for Garoppolo, I guess the question is, how many of these throws were because if he's hurt? And the flip side is, if Trey Lance is going to get really thrown into the fire with 2 weeks left, trying to find a way to make a playoff, get his team into the playoffs, this is going to be a bit wild. And I guess the flip side is part of why you made this trade was because Garoppolo, not only is he not necessarily a star quarterback, he's also struggled staying healthy. So this is why you go out and get a good backup. Would be a lot of fun though to see Trey Lance, in meaningful football, playing Houston next week, and then really they have to beat the Rams week 18 if they're going to get in. I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, it does kind of seem that way. Uh, uh, who is it next week? I forgot.
Play the Texans next week, so that feels like a good chance to get a win there. However, if everything, the way I broke everything down, if them and the Eagles both win one game and the Saints win 2 out of the 3, then the Saints and the Eagles would get in and the Niners would miss out, which would just be a shame because they're clearly the best out of those 3 teams. But they would be the one team that's left out if there's a 3-way tie there. Although Saints lose one of their 2, maybe that's the pathway, is just the Saints lose a game. Also, there's an X factor where if the Falcons win both out, then there's a chance where the Eagles miss it. So a lot of chaos going on, but it's possible for the 49ers to miss the playoffs here.
I mean, yeah, it's possible, but like I'm not like gonna say like I bet the Eagles and Saints go 4-0 the last 4 games of the season.
Well, the
Come on.
Saints, the Eagles would just have to win one.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, still like basically those 2 teams basically have to go 3-1 to end the year
Mm-hmm.
to boot the 49ers, and I'm not sure I'm ready to do that.
Sure. It's what's more
Yeah.
likely. The Saints win both of those 2 games or don't win both of those 2 games. And it kind of, to me, it kind of almost feels 50-50.
Yeah. Especially looking at those 2 NFC South teams.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow the Falcons are still in this. I don't get that too. Like, why does this team keep winning games? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I still think this team gets
we
in.
know we all stopped paying attention to Falcons like I don't know, in September, and they're still here.
We're gonna have to like restudy up on this team because they'll make the play. They'll beat the Bills and make the playoffs somehow, and then just be like, "What?"
Yeah, we still won't take them seriously. We still we won't watch up. That'll be the playoff game we just don't watch.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the one we all bet against.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I still think this team makes the playoffs, but yeah, I mean, even looking at this, the 2 turnovers to 0 turnovers obviously is the big difference. But I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, besides the 2 turnovers, they threw the ball better, they ran the ball better, they got 4 sacks, they got 9 tackles for loss, they got 9 quarterback hits, and they lost
Mhm.
this game. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
okay, this is clearly a problem. It's just crazy that they lost this game to me. I felt like they gave it away.
Yeah. Flip side, we should talk about the Titans. There's a real chance the Titans can get in. Like, if the Titans win out their final, or not get in, get the 1 seed. They play the Dolphins and the Texans. two winnable games for sure. They win both of those two games, and the Chiefs lose to the Bengals next week. They have the 1 seed, so it's possible. And if Derrick Henry comes back, like that's not a team I would want to face, especially not going there. So Titans are very much a team that could win it all. Like they're maybe getting slept on a little bit at this point. And I think another thing I feel like with the Titans is AJ Brown, incredible, 145 yards. He was sorely missed. Him coming back, very good. Julio Jones, 1 catch for 7 yards. Again, he's basically just a body at this point, I feel like, which is unfortunate. I think the one other thing I want to say is we made a lot of Jimmy G and Ryan Tannehill. I feel like a lot of people put Jimmy G and Ryan Tannehill in the same box, in that game manager box. I think this game clearly tells me like these two quarterbacks are different levels. Like Ryan Tannehill, this is why Ryan Tannehill is a tier 2 quarterback and Garoppolo is a tier 3, because there is still stuff Tannehill can do, like that big scramble to put him in field goal range, things like that.
I mean, we both had Tannehill the 7th best quarterback in football during our preseason rankings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'd still rank him 7th, but it's still a significant upgrade to Jimmy Garoppolo for me.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's still crazy to think that, they basically just got him for free there. So interesting stuff there. Ready to move on?
Yes.
All right, let's go to another fascinating one. Let's go Rams Vikings here. This was a game that certainly had some serious implications in this one, where Matt Stafford ends up throwing 3 interceptions and the Rams still win.
Yeah, and this, part of the, the good thing about getting stars in your team is stars, are across the roster for this team. We talked about Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp was terrific in this game. The defense was really good in this game, getting multiple, special teams touchdown, things like that. I mean, just the things that the Rams were able to do enough to win this game. Good on them.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on now. So let's go. I mean, there was, that special teams, the punt return touchdown that obviously helps a lot. We still saw some Justin Jefferson good here. I don't know. People were ripping on Stafford a little bit. I didn't think he played that poorly. I thought that, there was a couple. I thought a couple of those turnovers were fluky. One was horrible, but again, there's I like this Rams team, and also you kind of touched on it earlier. Like Cooper Kupp is just ridiculous. Like what he's done this season is incredible, and it's also weird how I feel like no one talks about Cooper Kupp as an elite receiver, right? Like we still aren't that. Like at what point, at what record do you have to break to be considered an elite receiver? Because I think that Cooper Kupp should be considered in that range at this point.
I certainly view him as an elite receiver, and I think he's been very good. I mean, the interceptions obviously are a problem, and I wouldn't characterize this as a good Stafford game, but I don't think it's as disastrous as people are making out to be. But it is crazy, he had 197 yards passing, 109 to Cooper Kupp. It is interesting watching this team and how they operate. Odell Beckham gets another touchdown, and I really didn't think Cousins was that good in this game, despite having over 300 yards and a touchdown, only 1 interception. I didn't think he was great in this game. He fumbled 3 times. They didn't lose any of them, though.
Yeah, that helps when you hear your offensive line doing a good job bailing you out in some of those fumble recoveries. Yeah, I thought that he played fine. I mean, Cousins is kind of that. Here's a comparison. Is he similar to, maybe I've made this before, in fact. It's probably not it's not like some crazy comparison, but is he a little bit sort of like a younger Andy Dalton? Of like sort of he runs the offense. And if the offense is good, then the team is going to be good. If the offense isn't good, then he's not going to elevate them in any way. He's kind of he's a boat on a canal where he's going to go up and down the way the water goes.
Yeah, I think so. And he has good weapons here, and that's why he's looked pretty good this year.
Am I using the wrong thing? Because I know like canal's not right? What's the thing where the boat thing? You know what I'm talking about? It's on the Panama Canal. That's why I said it.
The Panama Canal?
The canal in Panama?
I don't know. I'm not very good with nautical, definitions. I'm sorry.
It's like a thing where like the water, like it's almost like you go
dam?
into like a what? Similar. No, I don't think so. It's like you go into like a section of water, and then they like pump water in so it rises, and then you like continue to go. It's like when there's like 2 different water levels.
I got nothing for you here, man. This is definitely outside my area of expertise.
Well, this is unfortunate. I brought you onto this podcast years ago specifically for your ability to get my weird analogies.
Uh, is it? Let's see. Someone said Levy. Is that it?
That sounds right. So we were saying
Someone's
a
saying
lock.
Lock. So we're. Is it a Drew Lock or is it a Levy?
Right.
That's a lock.
Okay, they're saying pronounced lock, so maybe it's
Okay.
lovey. Okay, lock. There we go. All right. Luckily, the chatters are smarter than we are, Kyle.
So Kellen Mond is the Drew Lock of boats, is what you're saying.
Now I'm lost. Yeah. No. Exactly. I mean, this is interesting. I'm fascinated by the way. I guess there's the question though for the Vikings, who are probably dead. Do you try to get out of the Kirk Cousins contract? Say, hey, we got Kellen Mond, who we think we can at least play up to a Kirk Cousins level, and let's take a shot that way at build a team. Or we can get better pieces around us because we'll get rid of the Kirk Cousins contract. I'm not sure if they can do it this year or not, but then you at least have some more money to spend, and you're hoping to get similar production. Or is that too risky? Or do you maybe just see what you have in Mond? If you lose to Green Bay next week, maybe for Week 18, throw Mond in there, see what he has.
Yeah, I mean, if they lose to Green Bay next week, I wouldn't fault them for throwing him out there and just kind of say, hey, let's see what we got.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking a whole lot from a Week 18 performance, but you could do it and just kind of say, let's see what we can get here. I mean, like, it's not like I'm not looking at this Kirk Cousins contract like it's like the Russell Westbrook of football contracts. Like, I think it's tradable. Like, if you told me like if you said thinking on a whim here, like if the Broncos, I think would take Kirk Cousins in a heartbeat, right? Over an upgrade of what
The funny thing
right?
about that trade would be it's almost identical to when they went out and they what should I say? It's almost identical to when the Vikings got Kirk Cousins, right? They were like, "Oh, he's the piece that'll put us over the top for this." But I also agree, like, yeah, it is that is something that can happen. I'm looking at it now, so I know it's 45 million he's due next year. So that's a lot. That's a decent amount, and I don't know how much value you're getting back. It might be one of those like you take the contract and we just get like a 7th round pick back or something. Like you might not be getting much back for it, or maybe you will. I don't know.
Yeah, like they're not going to get a first. I wouldn't think they get a first or second round pick for it. I mean, NFL trades are weird to me. I haven't really got the whole scope of it because there's guys that go for second round picks, and I'm like, okay, I feel like that guy's not very good.
Mm-hmm.
It's all weird to me, but at the same time, yeah, I do think that they could trade him and kind of be okay with it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. If they trade him, it's a $10 million cap hit for them. The other team would then take on $35 million. So that makes it a little bit easier to trade. And also, you're still getting a good chunk of it off. I mean, $45 million for Kirk Cousins. It's a little tough. I mean, again, I know I'm not exactly breaking news here with the contract is a little bit tough, but it is a little bit tough paying a good quarterback, elite quarterback money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think it'd be interesting. And like I said, if they lose to the Packers next week, which I think they will,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind them going to see what Kellen Mond has and saying let's give it a shot.
Yeah, get some more information for the offseason. Also, one last thing about the Rams before we move on to another game. Have you seen the chart? It's a very fascinating chart of you look at the EPA per week by Sean McVay led quarterbacks, and it's almost identical. Every Jared Goff year and then this Matt Stafford year, it all starts off very strong and then sort of slopes down.
Is that just a weird coincidence, or I don't know what to take away from that?
That's the question, right? I don't know either. It is still a small sample size, but it does kind of make you wonder, like, does he come up with new stuff every offseason and then guys kind of figure it out later on? I don't know. It's fascinating, and it's interesting how even with Stafford, the same thing has happened.
Yeah. I mean, he, besides playing Jacksonville, he definitely hasn't looked the same in the second half of the season. I still think it was a good trade to get him over Goff, but at the same time, like, he's not playing his best football right now.
Yeah, I agree. But again, still time left. We'll see. We haven't seen him, with expectations in the playoffs, so that should be fun. Let's move on. Can't believe I waited this long to talk about this game. This was bad on me. I was kind of looking at. I didn't organize them before the show. Got to talk the Chargers Texans here. Kyle, I for one welcome our Davis Mills overlord. I think the question is Davis Mills the MVP? Or maybe yet, is Davis Mills the greatest football player of all time?
He's certainly playing really well, right?
Mm-hmm.
continues to put up some good numbers, doing some good stuff. I mean, I mean, this is another one of those games where it's like, I don't really know what to say about this. Like the Texans were missing a bunch of guys, but like literally every good player besides Justin Herbert seemed to be out in this game, and Keenan Allen, I guess too. But it's like how does Rex Burkhead get 149 yards?
Right. In the year of our Lord 2021.
Like it's not even like an XFL game. Like this is NFL football, and
Uh,
Rex Burkhead has 150 rushing yards in a game.
well, I
Like
mean,
that.
the how is because the weird thing though is like, so the obvious how is, okay, well, he played the Chargers run defense. But like Royce Freeman had 12 carries for 34 yards, so only 2.8 yards per carry. So why is Rex Burkhead like going off?
Yeah, it's just wild that this giving up 41 points to this Houston team has to be the worst loss of the year. I know they're missing guys, but 41 points to this Texans team, like that's insane.
Yeah, in fairness, there was the pick six there, so that doesn't help. And the Texans sort of ran away with it in the fourth quarter, putting up 24 points there. So I think that's an element of it when the Chargers kind of were in a desperate situation. The score got a little bit lopsided at the end there, but they were still down. I think what they ended up getting down by ended up being around even, but just more points were scored at the end there. You know, you're right. I mean, this is concerning, and I do have to say though, like Davis Mills was making some legit good throws. Like
Yeah,
it wasn't just like that. The defense. Oh, it's too banged up. Oh, what's the Chargers doing? Or even like stuff got schemed up. Like this wasn't a Mike White just throwing checkdowns and getting 20 yards every pass. This was like a legit, like he earned the 254 yards for 27 attempts. I'm not saying it was the highest degree of difficulty game you'll ever see, but like it wasn't as easy as you might think when you look up and see that Davis Mills torched the Chargers.
yeah. I mean this was a good game, and I think he has been really good. I think he's had some of the most impressive games for a rookie quarterback this year.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't, I don't, I'm not ready to say he's like a future starter
Right.
though.
I mean,
Like,
there's still already issues, like the issues we talked about heading into the draft. He still has some accuracy issues. I still don't think he has a cannon of an arm. So like there's that's kind of there still are those issues, but at least he's shown flashes here.
yeah, yeah, and there's at least something here. The Texans can kind of, I think the Texans are at least can feel confident with rolling with this next year. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out. Good win for the Texans, and this is backbreaking for the Chargers. It feels like. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like that this probably sticks a fork in them now, right? I mean, how do you recover from this?
Like mentally, like do you think they're going to be okay?
Psychologically, physically? I don't know.
Oh,
Anything. Like,
yeah.
do you think this team can turn this around and make the playoffs?
I think they can. I absolutely think they can. I think there's still a lot to like about this Chargers team, even though they have had some disappointing games to say the least. I think that they absolutely can. When I did my projections, I have them still making the playoffs as the 7th seed. So it's possible. I don't want to count the Chargers out by any means. I think this was kind of a weird game. I do think though, I keep making the joke. Chargers are 2022 Super Bowl champions because they feel a year away, and they feel like they have a lot of capital to do well in this next year. Their biggest thing they have to do is fix the run defense. That you can't be giving up 100+ yards to Rex Burkhead. And the second biggest thing you have to do is get some third options, get some extra options other than Keenan Allen. Like you do need more guys. And even Mike Williams, who I like, you just need more guys. You need a slot receiver. You need guys who can work over the middle. They tried that with Jared Cook. Hasn't really worked out as well as maybe you would have hoped. So you got to get some more receiving options. You do that. I think this is a team that can win a Super Bowl next year. But for this year, you're right. There's just too many holes. And I'd be really anyone who's in a playoff contention could win a playoff game. I'd be very surprised if they go on a run.
Yeah. I do feel like this is an all right team. I think right now, like we've said it a few times, and it still kind of just feels that way. Justin Herbert needs to be a superstar for this team to win. And
Mm-hmm.
good Justin Herbert isn't good enough for this team to win football games right now. And he was good in this game, but not great. And that's why it felt like they weren't good enough to keep up with this team, and they made mistakes defensively. I don't know. Uh, are we overrating Brandon Staley right now?
Uh, Maybe. I don't. Why do you say that?
I feel like a lot of people, this is going to sound like, I'm getting into the evil NFL conversations here. Nobody likes these, but I feel like
Hmm.
people like Brandon Staley because he's an analytics coach. I really do. And I feel like people like it, Brandon Staley on Twitter because he's an analytics coach. And I watch this and it's like, so why has Brandon Staley's performance this year as a rookie coach been better than Arthur Smith's, who's won 7 games with one of the not a very good roster? And I watch this team and it's like, we've known what this Chargers issue is for 7 weeks now. And he's a defensive minded coach. How has he done nothing to adjust to he's just accepted that they're going to be a bad run defensive team. And yeah, you can only do so much with your personnel, but it seems like they're adjusting nothing to being this atrocious run team. And I go back to, like, you can't let Rex Burkhead kill you. Like, if you're saying, okay, well, Rex Burkhead is just going to beat us this game, that's bad coaching to me.
Yep. I don't know. I'll take the other stance. I think that, I mean, again, overrated, underrated is hard because I think that there's a lot of people that love him and a lot of people that hate him. So I think it's hard to really totally evaluate that. He might be a bit overrated, but I would say that I think there has been some flukiness to go against the Chargers. I don't know how much more talented this Chargers team is. I mean, are they more talented than the Falcons? Sure. But how talented is this Chargers team? And I think you look at it, they totally could have beaten the Chiefs the week prior. Some people say he's the reason they didn't. I would disagree. I think that there are some, disappointing losses on this schedule, but the reality is, like, you're never going to go through an entire 17-game season and not have some disappointing losses at some point. I guess some teams have, but it's very rare to do that. I think that I would probably stand on, I think some of the decisions just haven't worked out as opposed to he's making poor decisions.
I guess it's fair to an extent. I guess it's just crazy because I feel like there is this, like, narrative that he's been the best of the rookie coaches. But it's just like, to me, like I said, there's not much difference between me and Smith this season, what Smith's done. Or even, we talked about this Eagles team and how depleted this roster was because of their cap issues.
Hmm.
Nick Sirianni has 8 wins this season. And I look at some of these other coaches. Robert Saleh has been in a terrible situation
Sure.
and he's got
Hmm.
4 wins. David Coley David Coley was in a situation that nobody wanted a job. Nobody
Hmm.
wanted this job, and he's managed to win 4 games with this team. And obviously, Urban Meyer was the best of the bunch, but you
Right.
do it. That guy's a clear winner. But
Hmm.
outside of that, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like that was Staley was the best, and it's like, I guess maybe it's like, I think all these other coaches have been pretty good. I don't think he's been that much better than any of these other guys.
I guess here's the way I view this is it's similar to, like, okay, would you rather have Mac Jones or like Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson? It's like, give me the Lawrence or Zach Wilson because I still love their ceiling. Give me Brandon Staley because I still love his ceiling. I think that if we've seen the Rams talent defense and how dominant they were with Brandon Staley as a defensive head coach or a defensive play caller. Give me some time. Give me some time to let him build the team he wants to build. And I still love the ceiling. I love the potential of this Chargers team. So that's kind of where I am sitting here.
Yeah. I did forget to mention our Lord and Savior Dan Campbell, but he's
Right.
probably not the best rookie head coach this year.
Hot take.
Give him time though. Um,
Because he's just the best coach overall.
yes, exactly. He's coach of the year this year, future president. We've been over
Yeah.
this. Yeah, I don't know. I will say though, I like a lot of these rookie head coaches though, man. Like, I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
these guys have been pretty good this year. Even Coley, I think, can stick around for a few years now.
Yeah, you going through the line. It's like usually after 1 year, like, okay, that guy's probably not going to make it. Like all these guys. I mean, I
Meyer was the
usually
one.
right. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on. Let's go to my team, I guess. Why not? Buccaneers had kind of a bounce back win. I mean, you're playing the Panthers. I guess that you can't be too down on it. They won 32-6. So obviously, winning that is good. But part of me just wonders how much of that is the Panthers just aren't very good. I don't know how much of it is because the Buccaneers are, there's still some concerns I have, is the way I'll say it. I think that we desperately need a halfback who can block. Ronald Jones had a rough time doing that. This is part of that was really Fournette's best value, is he's a guy who can, block. That's what we needed. But the bright spot here, I think, is Antonio Brown looked like Antonio Brown, over 100 yards for him. He was had a very good performance. We saw a Keyshawn Vaughn sighting where,
Look at
I'd
that.
kind of given up on him. Nice to see him have a big play there. But as a whole, we ended up seeing Cam Newton get benched in this one for Sam Darnold, who I thought played all right. A big chunk of his yardage came on one blown coverage. After that, not a lot going, but part of that was just not much was getting open. So for the Panthers, I don't know. This is kind of been a mess for Carolina this season, and for Tampa Bay, listen, I'm feeling good. Beating the Panthers by a lot, that's always very good to see. There's still some issues, but the reality is, I just don't know how good the team's going to be until they get healthy. We also have Shaquille Barrett, who's hurt, should be back for playoffs, but that's another concern. But as of right now, that's kind of my thoughts. What did you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of the least convincing 32-6 win I've ever seen, but I mean,
Uh-huh.
they won the game 32-6, so you can't criticize it too much. I mean, you sacked quarterback 7 times. That's absurd.
Hmm.
Obviously, you want your guys to get healthy on offense. That's the big thing. But they clinched the division. They can kind of coach. I mean, I don't know. Like, if you're a Bucks fan. You like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from time to
Yeah.
time. So let's go
Hmm.
there. Like, would you be okay with this team just getting the fourth, saying we'll take the 4th seed, we're gonna get healthy? I kind of mentioned this with the Cowboys, and you were kind of against it because I
Hmm.
mean that's a team with they didn't win the Super Bowl last year as the 5 seed, but this team who won the 5 seed last year still won the Super Bowl. Are you okay with just saying let's get healthy, let's get our guys in shape, and make sure we're ready to go for the playoffs because we had the division clinch, we're good.
Yeah, I'm just never a fan of that stuff. I just think you play your guys, you play the guys that are healthy. I think that you can get hurt in practice. Like you do. I think it does more harm than good. Maybe if like you're already locked into something the final game of the season, I get that, but I kind of just like even in that scenario. Usually, I like playing the guys for a half and getting them some playing time because I think it's hard to take 2 weeks off of football and then go back and play. The one thing I will say is like, let's say Mike Evans isn't 100%. Week 18. Okay, sit him for that week.
Mhm.
Be cautious with this stuff. If there's something that could create another injury, and even some of those like I know oftentimes some like the Kevin Durant injury in the NBA Finals with his last game with the Warriors, where like he hurt one leg and then it's sort of what they call a compensation injury, if I understand this correctly, where you then play on a different, you put too much weight on a different leg, which results in that one getting hurt. That kind of stuff can happen. So I would say be cautious, be careful with those stuff. But if you can play, I would rather. Like, I don't think they should bench Tom Brady unless Tom Brady gets hurt.
Yeah. I mean, you can even like do, I don't know. I'm surprised we don't see more teams like play for a half at least or something like that.
Hmm.
To at least get them the reps, kind of like preseason style. I don't
Sure.
know. I think there's a couple different things you can do, but like this was a fine win for the Bucks. I didn't really take away anything from this. They're missing guys, like you said.
Hmm.
The defense played well, but this Panthers thing's crazy to me. I continue to
Hmm.
like the Panthers social media. I think the Panthers have the most like frenetic social media fan base.
Why do you
Like,
say this?
and that, I know that the Cowboys fans are crazy. I know Dolphins fans are crazy sometimes. I know even Raiders fans are crazy sometimes. And I know especially Patriots fans are crazy
Hmm.
sometimes. I'll let myself in that conversation because Boston sports fans are crazy. But I have never seen a team hate their head coach as much as, we've gone through how many years of Matt Nagy, and I still feel like Panthers fans hate Matt Rule more than Bears fans hate Matt Nagy, which seems almost impossible.
uh,
And they like despise this guy. And listen, I don't think this has been a good year for him as a head coach,
no.
but like I hear the stuff about, oh, well, he criticizes guys in the press conference. Well, would you praise these quarterbacks in the press conference? I'm not really
Right.
sure what I would do here if I was the coach in this situation. I feel like people, I don't know. I feel like it's crazy to think that he's going to get fired after all the promise of last year. This defense is still like playing pretty well, I think. Even in this game, like it didn't get torched a whole lot. And this team just has some bad vibes, and I feel like he's going to, get the axe for it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I could see them keeping him another year. I could see them getting rid of him. I'd probably keep him to be honest. I think that like a lot of the issues have been more personnel issues than they have been coaching issues. But again, I don't know how much of a hand he has in that. But yeah, it's compelling stuff. I think really the reality is Nothing sucks more than a season where you have expectations and then don't live up to them, and that's what the Panthers are going through. So like, I get kind of the fans' frustration of they had really high hopes that they thought this could be, some Panthers fans were saying, this is not going to work, but some were saying like, especially after you start off 3-0, this is the team that could, really go on a run here. So the things fall off the rails. I'd probably give him another year, but again, if you like someone better, you can get rid of him too. He certainly hasn't. It's not like he has earned a third year.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is, though, is that his contract's pretty big. So
yeah, that's true.
I imagine. But the thing is, too, is you look at this and it's like, so Sam Darnold has another year in his contract. So
right.
Are you basically rolling back these two and say, okay, let's do this? I'm not sure that's the right answer either. Obviously, we know now in hindsight's 2020, the right answer was probably draft Justin Fields or Mac Jones, but they didn't do that. And so they're in this situation now. I don't know. It just seems weird to me. Like, I still think he's a pretty good coach. And maybe this is my bias because he was an excellent college coach and I really liked the hire at the time. But I still feel like he's a pretty good coach, and I think he's going to be okay if he's given some time. I just, I picked this team to finish fourth in the NFC South this year, preseason. And I still look at this team, and it's like, when this McCaffrey's not on the field, this is just a horrible football team.
Yeah, I completely agree with you 100%. Let's move on. Kyle, I have to go to the bathroom. So there's 5 games. I'll let you talk. I'll let you pick which game you want to talk about, and I'm going to go to the bathroom while you kill a couple minutes. We have Lions, Falcons, Jaguars, Jets, Bears, Seahawks, Steelers, Chiefs, and Balls, Cowboys. Which one do you want to get into?
Let's go to the battle of the rookies. I'll talk a little bit. I actually had some eyes on this game, so I could talk a little bit about this one.
Okay, perfect. So I'll step aside. You go talk for a minute, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, this was actually a pretty interesting game to watch, looking at picks number 1 and number 2. And I felt like the story of this game was obviously the 2 running backs. Obviously, James Robinson getting hurt was the big story. That's a real shame because it's the Achilles injury. And it seems like he's going to be out for this year, or obviously he's out for the rest of this year and potentially even longer in the next year, which is a shame. But Michael Carter steps up and has a big game in this one. Zach Wilson has a couple big runs in this one, including a 50-yard touchdown run, which is one of the longest in the queue for a QB in quite a while. But I came away from this game actually pretty impressed with both rookie quarterbacks. I thought I saw some real flashes from Lawrence in this game. Granted, the Jets were missing a bunch of guys because of COVID and their defensive head coach. So you take it with a grain of salt, but we still wanted to see improvement out of Lawrence. I thought we saw improvement out of Lawrence. And then the Wilson numbers aren't amazing or anything like that. But when I watched this Wilson game, I was like, okay, we've been saying for weeks and weeks, Zach Wilson should take the easy stuff. Zach Wilson should just do the simple plays, take what's given to him by the defense. And in this game, he did it, and he did it a lot. Now, I would have wished he made a couple more big throws, but missing his top 3 receivers, I thought he did exactly what he needed to do. Take what the defense gives him, had a couple big plays in the running game, and I thought he played pretty well too. So I was really impressed with both rookie quarterbacks in this game. And, they're playing, obviously these are 2 of the worst teams in the NFL. So like I said, you take it with a grain of salt, but I thought they were both pretty good.
Yes, Jake Thornton in the chat. Jackson is pulling a Lamar Jackson. Maybe he will come back with a clutch take on this game. Yeah, I'm not sure I have any clutch takes here, but I thought you did really good stuff there, Kyle. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, this is, I guess these are 2 quarterbacks at the end of the day we wanted to see more from, but at least, I guess let's talk about Trevor Lawrence for a second, maybe. How do you feel about, like, the guy hasn't thrown a touchdown since October. How are we feeling about Trevor Lawrence first, and then we'll get into Zach Wilson?
I've heard a lot of takes on this now over the last few weeks, and there's still I think, there's a lot of scouts around the league that I heard about saying that, like, oh, well, this Jacksonville job is still going to be one of the best jobs of the offseason because it has Trevor Lawrence. And I think I kind of agree. Like, I still think he's going to be a star. I still like a lot of the stuff I've seen from him this year. Or not a lot of the stuff, but I still like some of the stuff I've seen from him this year. I still think this team is just talent deprived. And, once this team adds some talent, and Lawrence is there, I think this could be a pretty good team and a pretty quick turnaround. They need a lot of talent, obviously. But you have the most important part, and I think he's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I think I agree. Also, he's thrown one touchdown since October. So I know, don't want the Lawrence heads to come after me after that one. But yeah, I think I agree. And again, we've kind of talked about this all year, so I guess we don't spend forever on it. Similar to Zach Wilson, listen, Wilson's shown flashes, and this is another one where he's shown, like, this whole Wilson hasn't shown flashes narrative is the weirdest narrative. Like, he's shown flashes. His issue is he hasn't been consistent, and it's the easy stuff he's been bad at. The flashes have been there.
Yeah. And he took the easy stuff today. I don't know if you heard everything in the bathroom. But
Yeah,
that's kind of what I was
listening.
saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that from this game. It wasn't a flashy game, and he was missing his top 3 options at wide receiver. So that also added to it. So I guess I do this every week. I'm gonna throw you on the spot here.
Okay.
If you had to rank your quarterbacks right now, rookie quarterbacks, you did obviously your mock draft preseason rankings. If you had to rank them right now, would it be the same or would you adjust anything?
Yeah. So the first thing I would do is I think I would drop Kellen Mond below Jones and Fields because I've seen them play and I've seen enough from them that I feel better about them than I do. So that's the first thing I would do. I think I still keep Wilson 1. I still keep Lawrence 2. I think I guess the interesting thing about these two quarterbacks is with Lawrence has been like what he's played this season. It's a legitimate possibility of how I thought he would play this year. It's very much like, okay, yeah, I could totally have seen him playing this way. With Wilson, a lot of the issues have been stuff that's just like, him missing checkdowns. Like, that's not an issue I saw in college, although it is getting better. So there's that stuff. I still think, like, listen, I get Mac Jones has had the best rookie season. Like, that's like undeniable. But I still would say, like, where does Mac Jones improve on from here? I think there's things he can do, but to me, I still feel like Mac Jones' ceiling is it's a Dak Prescott, whereas Zach Wilson's ceiling is an Aaron Rodgers, and Trevor Lawrence's ceiling is an Aaron Rodgers. So the fact that you have that higher of a ceiling, give me the chance on a guy that could win me Super Bowls as opposed to the guy where I'd have to have everything perfect to win a Super Bowl. That's kind of the way I feel it. I think you could argue, maybe this is a hot take, maybe it isn't. I think you could argue Justin Fields now has surpassed Mac Jones. I think I'd probably still go Jones ahead of Fields, but I've liked what I've seen from Fields this year as well. And you could still make the same argument with Fields I don't think he has the ceiling that Wilson and Lawrence has, but I would still say he has a higher ceiling than Jones as well. Sorry to bash your guy, Kyle.
It's okay. So you would have Wilson, Lawrence, still Mac, Fields. Then would it be Mills, Lance, Mond, or would you adjust that?
I forgot about. I would still have Mills below those guys. I'd probably put him up to next. I still have Mond, then Lance, and then Mills at the number 7 spot. I don't know. Mills has had some good flashes. He's also had some horrible games as well.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how he develops. Just going off the Mac point, obviously I think, Mac hits the weight room a little bit. That's going to be the big thing because he can improve his arm strength, obviously, a little bit, and then to me, it's just going to be kind of, as he continues, because I think a lot of it is that his processing is pretty high level right now. But like, as he sees more and more reps, more and more film and studies the game more and more, I don't know. I think Mac's going to be, can be a Pro Bowler, obviously, and potentially an All-Pro quarterback one day. He's going to see the reps. His processing is going to get even faster, and that's kind of the thing we've seen with some of these quarterbacks who were kind of, developed talents by the time they got to play. Is that the release gets quicker, the processing's faster, the reading the defense is even quicker, and there's just less of those mistakes, and that's what I could see from Mac.
Sure, and like that's another thing is you look at I guess the reason why I talk ceiling is because there's a big difference between having a good rookie season and between being a good, and having the most promising rookie season, I guess is the way I'd say this. I think back the last time 5 quarterbacks were drafted in the first round, Baker Mayfield had by far and away the best rookie season. It would have been such a hot take to say you would have rather had Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen than Baker Mayfield. Now it's a given you would rather have those guys than Baker Mayfield. It's a stupid take to say the other way. So just because you're doing the best as a rookie, there's things you can improve upon. And I think a good example of this is like, how you do under pressure, where Mac Jones has performed a lot better under pressure than all these other young quarterbacks. That's a big part of why he's had success at a young age. But the issue is that Lawrence and Wilson and Fields, and Fields to a lesser extent, he's been pretty good under pressure as well. But Wilson and Lawrence, when they get better at that kind of stuff, which you tend to do as you get older, then you're going to get better. You become a more complete quarterback and go better as a whole. Whereas Jones doesn't really have that aspect to improve, which is why he's probably not. I would project him to, there's less of a ceiling, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just interesting to talk about. But yeah, I mean,
sure.
If all four of those guys are good, I'm not surprised. If, the top two ended up being the best two of this draft, I'm not surprised. And also, if Mac Jones is the best rookie out of this draft at this point, I wouldn't be surprised either. So I think that there's a whole lot of variables. And as we talk about all the time, it usually comes out 50 are good and 50% are good and 50% are kind of bust. So it just kind of depends on how these kids develop.
Yeah, we have a Q in the chat. Jenna says a QB who has shown success is better than a high ceiling prospect. It really just comes down to personal preference, I think. Like that to me, this is just like putting on my GM hat. I kind of like the guys who have the higher ceiling and lower floor, whereas some people would rather have the safer prospect. Mac Jones, is going to be a solid player. He's going to be a good quarterback. Give me the guy who I think has a chance to, again, be a top 5 quarterback, which the easiest way to win a Super Bowl is to have an elite quarterback. So that's my mindset on it.
That's fair. So, all right. How many games we got left?
4 games left. Let's try to power through these. Not a ton to us. First, let's go with the Steelers, Chiefs. Chiefs are good. Steelers aren't. Ready to move on?
Yeah, pretty much. Good win for the Chiefs, obviously, without Travis Kelce. I mean, I don't have a ton to throw at this. It's kind of just pathetic watching Big Ben and this offense kind of do things now. And the garbage time touchdown was kind of funny at the end of this one. But
sure.
Chiefs are fine. Chiefs, everyone overreacted the Chiefs, it seemed like.
Yeah. I also like this comment back to the last thing. Davis Mills has the highest ceiling. Have you seen his neck? Yeah, I guess that's true. Davis Mills probably has the highest literal ceiling, I would assume. Yeah, I mean, this is a good win for the Chiefs. And we've seen Mahomes now put together a couple of good performances sort of back to back here, which is nice to see because, he had those struggles. But since then, really doing well against the Steelers, the Chargers, and the Raiders. So, getting hot at the right time, the Kansas City Chiefs are, and this could be a real threat. And yeah, the Steelers are who we thought they were.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I hope the Steelers team, it doesn't seem like they will at this point, but I hope they don't make the playoffs because I can't watch it. I really can't. I just can't do it.
All right. Well, yeah, I feel like we should talk more about this game, but I don't have a ton else to add here. I guess, are the Chiefs the favorite? How about this for a question? Could you make the argument the Chiefs are Super Bowl favorites?
You can make the argument. I think the argument would have to be along the lines of, they're going to have an easier path to the NFC, and then you get to the Super Bowl and anything's possible. And you maybe had the most talented quarterback still in the game. Like, I still think personally that the Bucs and Packers, at least, and you could talk me into the Cowboys and Rams still too, to an extent. I'd still probably just say the Bucs and Packers to me are better teams, but they have to play each other, so that eliminates one of them. So yeah, I mean, right. I see the argument there.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. The Chiefs looking very good down the stretch, but again, AFC is no gimme to get out of there either. So 3 games left. Let's go balls at Cowboys here. Does this tell us more about the Cowboys defense or Taylor Heineke? I guess Taylor Heineke and Kyle
Allen. I mean, this is another team where it's like, it kind of has that 09 Saints feel because this is even more 09 Saints to me because it's like this team at times doesn't really defend very well. And they give up some big they didn't in this game, obviously. We saw that. But, they give up some big plays, and they're okay with giving up big plays because it just seems like whenever they need it, this team comes up with a huge sack, a huge interception, just anything it kind of needs to kind of sway it back in their favor. Obviously, this game was a blowout. They played really well from start to finish. But I continue to watch this defense, and it's like, okay, I watch this defense, and it's like on a per-play basis, I don't think it's great. But obviously, the turnovers add a huge thing in your favor, right? and just the expected points out of off of that has to be off the charts.
Yeah, and one thing I thought about with Trayvon Diggs, who we've made a lot of jokes about how oh listen, he's not the best cover corner, but he's also getting a lot of interceptions, and so we kind of talked about the luck of it. But the interception he had in this game was kind of almost exactly like made me change my opinion a little bit on him. Although again, my comp for him was Marcus Peters. That's not a negative comp to have. I just don't know if he's Richard Sherman. But my main point with this was, it was a bit of an underthrown ball by Heineke, and then he's able to, complete it and get the interception. And I think kind of what it goes is, if you're going to challenge Trayvon Diggs, you can't miss the throw or it could get picked. And that's kind of the threat that he has. Is sure, there's a lot of luck that goes into this. Most of his interceptions have been when he's gotten beat and then he's come back. But also, like, the fact that that can happen, it makes guys not want to target you, even if they have open receivers. So there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be the best corner, if you're going to have the best ball skills of cornerbacks, that's a huge advantage, because it makes it, you have a good chance of getting interception every play. And kind of like what you said, he's not going to blanket a guy like Revis probably. I mean, I would say probably ever in his career. But like you said, the ball comes his way, there's a chance he catches it because he's going to make a good play on it. Or if you miss slightly, he's going to be there to make the play.
Yeah, interesting stuff. We also saw Dak Prescott have a good statistical day as well. So the Cowboys team getting hot at the right time. This team could win the Super Bowl. Like, it's legitimately a possibility. I feel like I'm just now kind of coming to grips with the fact that this is the team that could win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, it's not out of the question. They're
you seem lower on it than me.
I mean, I still think this team's not as good as Green Bay and Tampa. And to me, that's the benchmark for success. I don't like. Sure, could they go in, like, at this point, could they go in and beat one of those teams? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if they're going to be both in back-to-back weeks.
They would probably need to win the 1 seed. That's probably how they would get it, which can happen. All they need is, they went out playing the Cardinals and Eagles. That's totally possible. And then the Packers drop 1, then you're the 1 seed. It's that simple.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's certainly a possibility. It's just, I'm not going to necessarily say that they're my favorites or anything, but I do think they can make the Super Bowl. I do think they're talented enough to do it. I just don't know if they're as talented enough as the team in front of them.
Who do you like better? If it's a Cowboys-Chiefs Super Bowl, who would you pick? Only knowing what we know now. You get into a coma, wake up, this is the Super Bowl. You have to make your pick, because the first thing you do after the coma is podcast. Who do you pick?
Probably the Chiefs.
Okay. Yeah. I think I don't know. I might go Dallas. I think it could go either way. I think that's a tough one. I think they're pretty even. Let's move on. 2 games left. Let's go Bears at Seahawks. What a wild one this one was. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what to make of this. I don't know what else to add here. Fun game. Not really a meaningful game. Kyle, what was your thoughts on this one?
Big Dick Nick, baby. He is back. 6 plays, 80 yards down the field, and gets the touchdown. 2-point conversion to Damiere Byrd. Incredible catch. Gets the victory. And the Bears finished 5-12 in the year. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It's just like, how crazy was this to see that happen? And then they're like, yeah, sure, we'll just go for it. Like, Matt Nagy doesn't even want to, like, watch this team play anymore. He's just like, we'll go for 2 and see what happens. Pretty funny to watch it play out, though. Pretty nice win for Chicago. And I think I'm willing to say it now. I'm going out here and I'm saying I was on this before everybody else, but I am definitely saying we will not see Pete Carroll after this season. I do not think Pete Carroll will be back.
I think I agree. I think they do something. I wouldn't be shocked if they do some sort of like mutual agreement to just basically have them say, hey, thanks for what you've done here. We're not going to say that we fire you. We'll just do some sort of mutual agreement to part ways kind of thing.
I think so too, because obviously he won the Super Bowl, coaching legend, all that kind of stuff. You'd want to do well for him. But I mean, it's still a problem, right? Like, I mean, so it's still something that needs to change. I think that they're going to, let him go and try and see if they can figure something else out. I think this team just needs a shakeup. It needs something changed. And I mean, you have to do everything you can to keep Russell Wilson there. If that means bringing in a guy like Brian Dabble and saying, okay, you're going to really let Russ cook. This is what he's done for Josh Allen. He lets Josh Allen cook. You're going to bring him in and let Russ cook. I think you got to do whatever you can to make him stay.
Yeah, I think so as well. And this is, maybe perhaps a good loss in the long run for the Seahawks. Kind of, when you hit rock bottom, it kind of let you know. Sort of similar to I remember when and Mike McCarthy's last year with the Packers when they lost to the Josh Rosen led Cardinals. That was kind of the last straw. Mike McCarthy didn't even make it the next day. They fired him that evening. So maybe kind of a similar loss here. One final thought, just something I thought was funny. David Montgomery, one of the weirder stat lines you'll ever see. 21 carries, only averaged 2.1 yards per carry. Also, what led the team in receiving. You don't see that too often. A running back has a horrible, rushing day and leads the team in receiving.
No, I mean, it was kind of a weird game. Obviously, with your third string quarterback coming in, you kind of get some weird numbers. That was certainly one of them. Montgomery continues to make plays, though. I think he's been a valuable piece of this team. Mooney too has been able to be a valuable piece of this team. At least with the Bears, you could say, okay, Fields, Montgomery, Mooney, even Kmet to an extent. It's like, okay, we at least have something here offensively to work with.
Yeah, I think I agree. Let's move on now. Let's go to final game here to end this marathon show. Lions, Falcons. We saw Tim Boyle play somewhat well. Competent football, at least for Tim Boyle standards. He got outplayed by the punter Jack Fox, but still was did some stuff well. For Tim Boyle standards, we're definitely optimistic about this. Atlanta would still find a way to beat the elite Detroit Lions here in this one. Here's my question. Things to talk about here with this game. Kyle Pitts, over 100 receiving yards. Is Kyle Pitts worthy of an Offensive Rookie of the Year award?
I don't think he'll win it, but I think there's a lot of Rookie of the Years that a lot of Rookie of the Years. I think there's a lot of rookies, at least, offensively especially. There's some on defense, too, I really like this year. I've just been impressed with this rookie class, I guess I should say. I liked a lot of the defensive players. I like a lot of the offensive players. I still think Mac's going to win the award, and I think he deserves the award too. But we looked through this. Jalen Waddle, it was the highlight of the Dolphins game. Kyle Pitts was the highlight of the Falcons game. Jamar Chase has been one of the biggest, storylines of the Bengals this year. Rashawn Slater, Penei Sewell, and this, doing some big things too. Just keep going through the list. Devontae Smith has had an impact on the Eagles this year. Even outside of the quarterbacks, which, some of the stuff for the quarterbacks hasn't looked great this year. You go through the list of rookies and you're like, okay, this guy's pretty good. This guy's going to stick. And it seems like everyone but the Raiders had a pretty good first-round pick because it's the Raiders.
Yeah, and I think that what's interesting about this as well is here's what I think as well. With Kyle Pitts, you have 2 games left. He's currently 127 yards away from the record for most receiving yards by a tight end in a rookie season. I think if he gets that, I think that'll be a big feather in his cap. We know voters love records. You get a record there, it could be hard to argue someone else. But again, I guess the downside is he plays for Atlanta, and he just doesn't have that the notoriety that other guys are getting.
Yeah. There's a lot of things you can look at because, we keep going back to this with the MVP talk, but if Mac Jones torches the Jags next year, is that going to lock it up for him too? He'll lock up a playoff spot as a rookie quarterback, basically, assuming the Dolphins or Raiders lose. And he'll torch the Jaguars. So it's like, does that lock up Rookie of the Year for him? I think there's a lot of things that could be in the conversation.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting. Also, Zachary Stewart has a good question. Is Tim Boyle greater than Lawrence and Wilson now? I think so, right?
Obviously. This was so weird because it was like Jared Goff, DeAndre Swift, Amani or Oruwariye, and TJ Hawkinson were out. And that's basically the entire Lions freaking team right there. That's literally the roster is those 4 guys, plus Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's now might be the best rookie wide receiver in the NFL. I'm saying that as a joke, but he's been very good this year too. It's like that. That's like that's like their talent pool right now, and all those guys are out, and they still scored 16 in this game somehow. This Falcons team is so stupid, right?
Yeah. Real quick, super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Love these recaps and hypothetical questions. Can't wait to listen to this at work. Thanks, guys. Go Mac Jones. So there you go. You and Kyle had something in
Go
common.
Mac Jones. Thank you for the chat.
Appreciate the super chat. Well, one thing you have to give the Falcons a ton of credit for is they were able to hold the great Craig Reynolds to just 2.6 yards per carry in this one. I mean, that's a impressive showing.
Yeah, Netflix couldn't keep the magic going here. His stock went way down. Rough game for him, but yeah, it was just I don't have a lot of takes from this game. Somehow the Falcons have 7 wins. I can't get over this.
Because they're an odd team. If they beat the Bills next week, there's a real chance they can make the playoffs, but they're probably not going to beat the Bills next week. So yeah, Kyle, that's our show. A long one here. Almost went 2 hours here.
We had a lot to talk about, and then we got on that Drew Lock tangent about locks for boats, not actually Drew Lock. And then so we little sidetrack, but that's what we do.
Yes, that is what we do. And, all the games to talk about. So it should be fun. Kyle, we only have 2 recap and 2 preview shows left. One of them will be tomorrow, though. Tomorrow at 9, we will preview all the games. Kyle, you've taken a sizable lead these past couple of weeks. You're currently up by 8 points. So you're looking good.
It was a good week for me. I'm pretty sure I'd have to go back and look at it, go through the the history of the On the Sideline podcast. I'm pretty sure I'm like 5-1 in my last 6 walks or something like that. I'm pretty high right now, so I'm killing it.
Yeah, you missed one 2 weeks ago, but you've been you were on a streak before that, and then you got it last week as well. So we'll see if Kyle will have a lock next week. That's the one you bet the house on.
Yes, listen to me. Spend all your money on basically what I say. No, just kidding.
For legal reasons, that is a joke.
Yes, don't do that, please. But hey, I'm hot right now.
Yeah,
I've been doing good since I got my booster. So I know Big Cat took this for any Barstool fans, but maybe the booster adds to some gambling luck. Maybe it is.
Okay, yeah, I like that move to get more people. That's fun. All right. Again, thanks to everyone. We do appreciate you watching or listening. If you're an audio only fan, we have the audio only version anywhere you get your podcast. That should be available. Kyle, let them know where they can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us. That's at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Grana. Make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK on Twitter. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at On the Sideline JK.
Yes. Again, Kyle, any final thoughts before we head out?
It was a good week 16. Looking forward to, getting a Patriots win back, which means we're playing the Jaguars. Feel good about it. So looking forward to week 17. We're getting right back to it. Almost the end of the season.
Yeah, a lot of fun stuff. Really getting down to it here. Sprint to the finish. Fun stuff. Again, thanks to everyone for watching. We do appreciate it. And of course, until next time, until tomorrow, see you later, alligator.
Peace.